They live in a society with the world's dumbest form of deciding who your monarch is. First, their monarch is the guy that was standing closest to a big bird. And then now they flipped monarchs because this person wasn't
because the other big
by
animal,
a big slug.
So the Numenoreans in this episode, they took some turns I really wasn't expecting. Because it's been so bad already that I thought, well, you know, they're trying to get a little bit closer with the desire. In the last episode, we saw the desire for deathlessness.
This is what passes for a grand scene, by the way. There are something like 40-something people in this scene or something. And I mean, this is like the grand trial of a major figure in Numenorean life. And there's like 40 people there.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to represent a city. Like, everything is small. But anyway, go on. What were you going to say?
Well, so I was going to say, so this is Elendil brought in front of Pharazon because of, as we find out, high treason. Right. Now, the high treason is that he was defending the shrine that they were sending people off. Just real quick, I want to get your thoughts on the shrine. That was going to be built for an aqueduct because, you know, the city has been around only for 1,500 years. Guys, we need an aqueduct here right through the shrine. Like, really, guys? That's the best the writer's room could come up with. It's eminent domain in Middle Earth. We've got it.
That's good. Middle Earth. Yeah, I didn't even think of it that way. That's funny. I just thought that sorry, his name isn't Valandil. What's the son of Pharazon's? Pharazon's son.
Kemen. Kemen.
I just thought Kemen was just making up a lie. But I didn't even think about it like eminent domain has come for you. The bureaucrats.
It's like eminence domain. Oh. So what did you think of them, like, with the whole shrine? And like, my take was like, this is the only way that they can portray faith. They think it's a shrine with a little statue. That's religion to these writers. That's what I took away from it. There's no depth to it. It's just like, oh no, they've got to have this little thing.
What's funny is there's this strange juxtaposition between throwing out a bunch of Tolkien facts, like they talk about the Tower of Tol Eressëa being able to be seen from the heights of the highest place in Numenor, which we know from the Silmarillion. They talk about there's a lot of specific references to places in Numenor and Valinor that nobody except people that are Tolkien nerds like us would even recognize.
Right.
And then they juxtaposition that with what they think faith is about. Now, what's interesting is I actually didn't dislike the scene all the way till the end where Elendil's Eowyn?
Valandil? Oh, his I think is that it?
His daughter, whatever his daughter's name is, Eowyn.
Aarian.
You're right. Okay, so Eowyn is trying to convince him to bow and swear fealty, and he gives some reasonings, or he says faith is not faith if it's not lived, and that's true actually. And then he talks about how basically giving up his integrity just to save his life is pointless. And I actually like the speech all the way up until the end when they bring in Miriel and she tries to convince him. And then he ends with, she says, but what if people aren't convinced? It's like, the sea is always right. Like, that's how he finishes that scene. Oh my gosh, you idiots almost got through one scene where I actually was into the motivations of the character.
Yeah.
And I admired the motivation of the character. And you had to finish with this tripe.
Right.
The sea is always right.
Well,
and they bring that to life with the punishment, right? Apparently this is Clash of the Titans. Have you seen the...
I'm unbelievable. It's exactly what Andromeda in Clash of the Titans tied up for the Gorgon, the giant sea monster. There, I was like, oh my gosh, we not only have Obi-Wan Tom Bombadil, Yoda Tom Bombadil, made even more of that in this episode, but we get no good new idea. We're gonna be like, oh yeah, she's gonna be put up for a sacrifice now, essentially, just like in Clash of the Titans. And if you guys,
we're gonna put her out on a wet rock, and have her eaten by a sea monster.
But what bothered me even more is they call this the Valar will decide her fate, his fate. I mean, ultimately, I'm like, wait, what? Where anywhere in Middle Earth do the Valar decide the fate of these ones, of anybody in Middle Earth, like in this way, in such an
by whether a sea monster will eat you or not? That's
that's whether the Valar do. And the problem is, they should be like renouncing the Valar. So why would they, like he said, like they're talking about, like they're keeping away, they're like, we want long life, and oh my gosh, there's people that we can see them in the distance, right? They're talking about it already. If they wanted to make a point about the Valar here and what Pharazon and his retinue's approach to the Valar would be, is like, well, we're not going to do anything that the Valar want us to do. We will have our own.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly what they would have done if they were being rational. Now, the excuse they give is, well, they should die by the old laws, live by the old laws, die by the old laws. If they want to live by the Valar, die by the Valar. But you pointed out the biggest flaw, which is this is the last thing the Valar, any law based on the Valar would have done. This is like the height of old world paganism, which is like, we're going to let a monster decide your fate, whether it kills you or not.
Yeah.
This is something from deep paganist myth. It is not what the Númenoreans, these enlightened peoples, that were the only race of men to worship the one true God. The fact that they would have a ritual supposedly that if what you're saying is true and you're innocent, the sea monster wouldn't eat you. By the way, let's talk about that sea monster for a second.
Okay.
Apparently, there's some kind of shortage of monsters in the world because we got to reuse the same sea monster that destroyed this Sauron ship, and let's be careful about what's happening here, right? The old law is apparently that you go out to this salty water promontory, and the sea monster decides whether to eat you or not. And the sea monster, if you're guilty, the sea monster eats you, and if you're innocent, the sea monster doesn't eat you. Why did the sea monster not eat Sauron then?
Because it was the fate of the Valar. The Valar were in control of the sea monster, and they want him to survive. So, never mind.
Yeah. The sea monster's whole thing is that it determines guilt and innocence, as we found out. Like with Sauron, it was just like a monster in the ocean, so I didn't have a problem with it. One great ancient evil recognizing the presence of another ancient evil. Okay, fine. But with this, it's like now we're told supposedly according to the ancient law, this is going to be the way innocence is decided. And so now I have a real problem, because now Sauron was innocent, and that's why the sea monster didn't eat him. But the sea monster killed everybody else. Anyway, you know what I like?
Michael, hard things.
I'm going to say one positive thing here.
Yeah.
At least here's one thing positive that I can say. At least in this entire scene, it did not feel, for once in this damn show with Numenor, it did not feel like we were in a 20-foot by 20-foot room with a bunch of actors.
True. That's true.
At least it felt like they actually put these people all on the coast.
Yes, but here's the thing about those people. It's the same people that were for Miriel, and then they're for Pharazon, and now they're again, after she survives, they're for Miriel. These are the most traitorous, fickle population of Miriel. It looks like the same people. At least what they could have done is said, "Oh no, it's the faithful who are coming here to watch, to stand by Elendil, or their captain who is here." Like, why aren't the people who said, "Thank you, Captain, thank you, Captain, thank you, Captain," in that episode before? Dumbest scene. It was, to me, it was the Numenorean knife buyback program all of a sudden that they have there. But it's the same people that we saw in the scene earlier where they're all standing around with him here. Like, how do we know they're any different? So here they're cheering against him, and then here they're literally angry, like, "Yeah, throw him in." And then she survives. They're like, "Yeah, it's our Queen Miriel. Yeah."
I'm so with you. I was on my trip cross country. I went into a shop at one point in the middle in middle America, and it had a bunch of stuff. Okay, it was a Buc-ee's, I admit it, and it had T-shirts, and one of the T-shirts just said "Whiskey Tango Foxtrot," and which and that's my reaction here is like, WTF is wrong with these people? Okay, first of all, apparently they live in a society with the world's dumbest form of deciding who your monarch is. Because first, their monarch is the guy that was standing closest to a big bird, and then now their monarch, they've flipped monarchs. Why have they flipped monarchs? Because this person wasn't
because the other big animal,
big slug. Okay, like, what's next?
Right. I just love, like, they give up on anyone so easily. Like, okay, so the entire army, all 12 of them that were left, I guess, after they're like, we're gonna take your knives back. Okay, so they stand in line, and they literally, and Elendil literally just hands him his knife, and they're like, you're a captain who has no ship, and he stops for a second, he looks angry, and then he's like, oh, you're right. Like, that's what he says. You're right. They literally, like, everyone's just okay with the change. Everyone's totally fine with Pharazon becoming king and tossing out Miriel, who led them into battle, who's been there for a long time, who's, like, according to this story, the one true.
She's the daughter of the previous
queen here.
king.
Yes. So, but they're fine. They're just going to switch right away. There's no upheaval. They're like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of like he's the, he's the, I don't know. He's the city administrator that we don't really care about. We give him that title, but we don't really care. Like, I don't know. Or it's like the, it's like being the king of England. Like, nobody really worries about the king of England. Like, what they say doesn't actually matter. We actually have a real government, but they never show us that. And then they switch to Pharazon, and then after this, they switch instantly right back to Miriel.
I would like to remind everyone, and especially those people who didn't watch it, so because they listened to us, literally this whole trial is Miriel has taken the place of Elendil, so she's doing the trial where she's going to be eaten or not eaten, and that's going to determine whether she's innocent, and by proxy whether Elendil is innocent. So that's what this whole scene is. So guess what? The sea monster doesn't eat her. So guess what that means? She's innocent. Okay, I mean, that's weird, but it's stupid, it's pagan, and it's nothing like what the Numenoreans would have. But okay, I'll go with that. And then all of a sudden, she's innocent, and then all of a sudden, everyone starts chanting Tar Miriel like she's queen. That wasn't on the chopping block today, folks. That wasn't one of the articles you could buy. You can't buy. We were not here to choose a new monarch. Everyone knew she was innocent beforehand. Like, she was taking the place of Elendil. And now that she's been spit out by a sea monster, now she's queen. Like, so this is how you determine who your monarchs are.
So this is the way that they're going to make them marry each other, right? So that Pharazon, like, in one episode, they will have gone from Pharazon becoming king to Pharazon not becoming king to Miriel being back to king, and somehow he's going to convince her now to marry him or to take it. Like, if they want to try and get, what actually happened in the lore, that's what they're going to do. And also we're going to find out that Pharazon, in his anger, he goes to, we got to think of another name, because it's not a Palantir anymore. Palantir is a seeing stone. It's a communications device. This is the magic crystal ball of Disney's Haunted Mansion to tell you the future. What is it? Madam something. There's a name for that. Maybe we give it that name.
I forget.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of a taser too, right? Didn't it tase Elendil when he touched it?
It's the don't tase me, bro stone. This whole thing, like, he's kind of seeing the eye. I think this is what they're trying to get back to. That just like just like Aragorn saw the eye, and Pippin saw the eye, and Saruman saw the eye in the Palantir. Now remember, the only reason that they saw the eye is because Sauron had a Palantir, not because it was showing them some sort of future that the Palantir decides to show them. Sorry, these elf stones, these elf artifacts. But it shows him, like, it's going to show him Halbrand. He's angry. There's Mordor now. So somehow, this is the stupidity of the writers again. They're like, we need to drive the plot forward. What are we going to do? We'll just have the Palantir show him stuff. That's what we need to do. Because once the Palantir shows him stuff like Mordor, like there's the Eye of Halbrand. right there. There he is. It was like from the first season. So now they're like, oh, so now he knows like there's a power arising. And so from this, he's going to say, Sauron has arisen in Mordor, like in the next episode. That's essentially what he's got to have to go to, because they don't have the time to show us like why he would actually know this here. But the Palantir shows anything that needs to be shown in order to drive the story forward. Just like they're going to assume that we don't have to actually question what's going on. After the last episode, it drove me bananas.
It's the dumbest ex machina.
That's right, the dumbest ex machina. All right, so that is the Numenoreans here in the Rings of Power season 6. They create anything they need to in order to make Miriel the queen again.
It's just so dumb. I mean, like, let's say you're right. Let's say they decide that this is how they're going to drive forward the story of Pharazon marrying Miriel. Okay. Yeah. So how does that conversation go? Look, I know you were spit out by a big sea monster, and that should make you the queen. But I was standing closest to a big bird, and so that should make me the king.
Right.
And so, how are we going to resolve this?
So,
which is better, the big bird or the big sea monster?
So, what they're going to tell us and not show us is that the sea people of Numenor will follow Miriel, and the bird people of Numenor, the air people of Numenor, will follow her. It's a split down the middle. How are we going to unite this divided country of nobody's following anybody? They're going to tell us this right before it happens. We're going to have to get married and unite the people once again.
You said.
Do you think it's going to have 5 seasons?
I think it is. I think it's going to have 5 seasons because there's a lot of egg on their face if they don't. And I think this is. I think for Amazon, although this is a lot of money in general, it's still kind of FU money to them. It's just like Bezos can do what he wants with this. This isn't his main money maker. And so ultimately, I think he's going to carry it out. I think it will be interesting to see what changes are in season 3, because let me tell you, the reaction from the fans has not been better to season 2. Rotten Tomatoes claims it is, but yeah, whatever.
No, the people watching it. I think that from the first 3 episodes to the 4th episode, it declined like 50-something%, and I believe even from episode 5 to 6, it declined another 7%. So there are far fewer people watching this show in every single episode. Tulsa King, with 1 episode in 1 week in its new episode, and it's like a 35-minute episode or something like that, had more minutes watched than all of the Rings of Power episodes in the last week for the new episode.
Wow.
So I
actually haven't even seen Tulsa King. I've been told I should.
It's a fun show. It's a fun show. I would recommend it. If you like Taylor Sheridan's other shows like Yellowstone, I will say it's a little less brutal than something like Yellowstone, which is kind of nice. It has its moments, but yeah, and Sylvester Stallone's kind of he's hamming it up, and it's kind of fun.